Hello and welcome back to the Sky Fantasy Football Podcast by Fantasy Football Hub. We are buzzing with anticipation for the restart and will tonight be sharing our plans to tackle Game Week 45 and the first half of Game Week 46. And we will... excuse me guys, sorry. Okay, apologies. I'm joined by two of the most successful Sky managers in the game. Firstly, Paul McAnulty. Paul, how are you doing?
Good, thanks, Andrew.
Yeah, good. Okay, and Dan, how's your week been?
Yeah, it's been not too bad, mate. That's quite nice knowing this is the last weekend without any football for a while. So nice to just get that done with, and let's get back to the football.
Absolutely, mate. Okay, as we are live, please feel free to join in the chat at any time. Don't be shy, say hello. Let us know your thoughts on the topics throughout the relevant sections. And feel free to ask some questions for us to answer at the end. If you haven't subscribed to us yet, please press the subscribe button in the bottom right-hand corner of the screen and set the alerts so you don't miss our live streams, even though we're sometimes not always ready, as I wasn't just then. So last week, we looked at the teams and the players that we are targeting for the coming weeks. So tonight, we are going to look at putting that into practice by confirming the plans for our own teams on the fixtures we know about, which should hopefully help everyone with their plans and decisions as we talk through it. We will also discuss Paul's team by walking through it using Ian Parrin's transfer planner, which is part of the Hub membership package. So by doing that, this will also help to highlight the 2-for-1s and the 2-for-1s and the 3-for-1s that will be available over the coming weeks, which will definitely help those with lots of transfers available. We will answer some community and some live questions. We will have a quick look at the top of the Hub's £250 contributor league. And as usual, we will finish off with Dan's rants. So firstly then, we are going to look at my team first. I'm ranked about 6,000, so it's not the most exciting one. But in terms of my team and plans for the next week or two, in terms of like principles, I was quite fortunate that I planned pretty well ahead during the last month pre-lockdown. So I've actually got a captain for the first 2 game weeks, so I don't have to make any transfers. Since I only have 5 transfers left, I'm not going to be kind of rushing in to make any moves unless I absolutely have to. And my other kind of principle I'll be working to until the end of the season, because of my rank, which is not great. I've still got a chance in 1 or 2 mini leagues. Not massive ones, but I'm kind of 80 points behind in one. I'm going to be looking to bring in low ownership players, so I'll be looking at people like potentially Pogba instead of Bruno, maybe Ali instead of Son and stuff. But for me, there's no massive immediate need. When I kind of looked at my team right at the start when I first logged in after 3 months, it didn't look that bad, but I can't remember why I brought in Fabianski. There must have been a captaincy day at some point where I thought it was a really clever idea. But other than that, it doesn't look that bad.
West Ham had a couple, didn't they? Because they'd had Spurs on that Friday night, and I think they played Newcastle, I think.
Oh, you just backed me up there, Dan. Thanks for that.
So West Ham was that's was quite a result in it that West Ham ain't got no single, because I was looking at bringing in Bowen. So I was quite pleased that I didn't quite get to that stage, and I ain't got any West Ham players in the team. So that worked out all right.
So in terms of my captaincies then, so on the 17th, I will likely captain Aguero. So I know that they are the second match, but I kind of a high risk, high reward here. I'm banking on Aguero starting. I can't see why he wouldn't start, so I'm going for Aguero on the 17th. I've then got Ings on the 19th, so that's playing on the Friday evening. On the 20th, then I probably then go for Jimenez. I've got Jota as well as a backup, which is quite nice. You would guess that even if one of those isn't playing, then the other one would. On the 21st, then it's a nice fixture for Liverpool. I've got either TAA or VVD. Obviously, again, depending on who's starting. Actually, on that one, I don't think that's next Sunday. We don't get to see the lineups on that one, do we? So I'll keep an eye on it throughout the week. But I've either got TA or VVD.
You won't get the Wolves lineup either.
No, you're right there. So I'll be looking for some clues in the news and the presses and on Twitter and everything else. Yeah, you're right. It's a really good point.
Harvey Barnes, isn't it?
I have got, yeah. I plan on using it on the 23rd as well, actually. So yeah, it's a good shout as well. Thanks for that, mate. Cheers. So on the 22nd then, which is the Monday. So this is City and Burnley. We get to see the teams. So I've got both Aguero and De Bruyne. So I'm quite happy there. On the 23rd, I could play Barnes, but also Spurs are playing, and I quite fancy Ali. So I can't remember who kind of reminded me of this, but I was reminded that Mourinho tended to play Ali kind of up front with Kane pre-lockdown as well. So I do think Ali is quite a nice differential to probably I'm guessing that Kane and Son will both get a fair few owners. So I'm kind of looking at Ali there. On the 24th then again, Wolves, so Jimenez or Jota, and the 25th, which would be the last game then, of game week 46, I believe. I again kind of got Aguero and KDB, so I think I'm reasonably set for captains. In all honesty, I don't think I need to make any transfers. I've only got the 5 left, as I say, so I'm kind of not in any rush. But so mine's not very exciting there. Just in the chat, evening. Pompey Lad 96, Answer Hornet FPL and Bear. Hornet says, don't forget Sky Site might well crash as the deadline closes in on Wednesday. Don't leave any transfers too late, I reckon. I reckon that is a really good point. That has happened on more than one occasion. That is very good advice. So anyone listening in, please make sure you don't leave your transfers till, I think it's 6 o'clock the kick off on it. So make sure your transfers are done and dusted by, as soon as you get the lineups at 5 o'clock, make your transfers and leave it definitely. And Aaron Alton, currently in second place overall, looking forward to the fixtures, hoping to push on, but feeling a bit nervous. I bet you are, Aaron. There's a lot of money at stake. So best of luck, and hopefully the guys can give you a bit of help as we go through. So that's my team. It's not the most exciting. Dan, have you got any kind of comments on thoughts on my plan? Think I'm playing it right? Could I be doing anything differently? Or anyone on the chat, please feel free to rate my team, give me alternatives, slag it out, do whatever you like. I don't mind.
I think it's tricky, mate, isn't it? Like, I've only got a couple more transfers than you, but with only having 5 transfers, you've really got to, you just got to go with what you got, haven't you, for now, and then see what the next batch of fixtures is, and sort of just hold fire a bit. Like you said, you got a captain all of those days, haven't you?
Yeah.
For the first two weeks. So
and I got Fabianski as well. If all goes wrong, he'll pull me out the fire, won't he? So, I will be looking to get rid of either Van Dijk or TAA. They're very expensive. I do expect Liverpool to rest a few players as well. So what I'm thinking of changes, Pogba, Ali, players like that. One of them will have to be dispensable. Potentially even a Sheffield United defender, though they are reasonably cheap. So I'm not sure. I'll have to see there, but I'm going to have to go for a high risk, high reward. For me, whether I finish, if I finish 1 or 2k, I've got a chance of winning a mini league. If I finish 6,000, like I'm now at 10,000, it don't make any difference. So next, then we're going to have a look at Dan's team, which is here. So Dan, could you run through your team and run through your thoughts and your plans?
Yeah, so I've only got 7 transfers left with this team. I did put in my article, I was pretty shocked when when football was put on hold. I didn't log into this. I went, everything had sort of stopped for me. It's more about your home life and stuff. So when I logged in after 2.5 months to see Danny Ings in the team, I was like, what? I couldn't believe it. But luckily, because even before I logged in, I thought I had Traore still. So I looked in, I was like, oh, yes, I don't have Traore. And but I was like, Danny Ings. And then Pereira, the longer it was going on, I'm thinking Pereira's going to be back from that injury soon. But it's not to be. So, yeah, I've got 7 transfers. Pereira's got to go. And Yeah, but I'm not too, like I say, going through the first 2 weeks, I've only won. Well, I'm two nights without a captain, but I'm thinking of doing something like I might just do something drastic. Like if I go with Richarlison to Fernandes, I've basically got a captain every night apart from the Palace Burnley game.
Just for
And
our listeners down on the podcast, is able to run through your team.
Yeah,
Sorry.
of course, yeah. So Henderson in goal, Van Dijk, Alexander-Arnold, Ricardo Pereira, Soyuncu, Richarlison, Jota, Sarr, Aguero, Ings, and Jimenez.
Yeah.
But so Pereira's got to go. I haven't quite figured out who for yet. And I think I'll just do Richarlison to Fernandes. Like I say, then that is my first 2 weeks covered. Yes, I used 2 transfers, but that's the captain, all but one of the first 2 weeks of fixtures. And then hopefully, well, we will get more fixture news. I reckon it's going to be probably the end of this week or next week. We'll get the next batch of fixtures. So that'll still leave me 5 transfers to try and navigate till the end. But as much as I was horrified to see Danny Ings, I still think I'll probably end up captaining him twice, I think, in the first 2 weeks. So hopefully he can repay me.
Okay. Any thoughts, Paul, there on Dan's team?
No, I think I'm a bit jealous of you talking after some transfers, as we mentioned earlier on. I've been unfortunate in the way that the single game days have been laid out.
Yeah, I agree. There's not a lot going on in this first fortnight, really, is there? We were hoping for the fixtures, but without the fixtures,
I can't even
tough.
Can't even really do much because I was thinking like, if I want to get rid of Ings or Jimenez, but I need them both for captains. Like even up to the 27th, I'll be on Jimenez.
Yeah,
do you know what I mean? And Ings on that Southampton Watford. So I am, like I say, I'm pretty much stuck with what I've got. Really, I can't even get to Aubameyang, Kane, or whatever else I want to do. I can't really get to because I say there's no point in taking Ings out when I need him for that single game night. He probably will only return me 2 points, but do you know what I mean? It's nice to have a striker in a single game day that you dream could get a couple of goals. But I say so. I'm pretty much stuck with what I've got, really.
Yep. Okay. If anyone in the chat has got any kind of thoughts on different captains or tactics for any of us as we go through, or different players, substitutes, any Pereira replacements for Dan as well, please let us know in the chat. Dan is struggling for a replacement for Pereira.
And Pereira, like he can become a midfielder for me. Again, you're sort of going up to his value wise, but if anyone's got any good suggestions, what they think. But let us know. Get involved.
Message from you and Thomas. A good point. So he said, "Good luck for the restart. All Jimenez's wife is due a baby in the next month, so worth watching out for." So I noticed that this afternoon, about a month down the line. So that is worth looking out for. Thank you very much for that, Ewan. That is a really good point. Bad news.
Bad news, that is.
Dan was rubbing his face then for our podcast listeners. He's not a happy chappy. He's
have kids after you finish playing football.
He wished Raoul had kept it in his trousers. But okay, so the next team we're going to look at, and this is going to be good because we're going to use the transfer planning in a second as well. So we're going to look at Paul's one. Paul, can you firstly run through your team for our podcast listeners, please?
Sure. I've got Dean Henderson in goals, and then 4-3-3 formation. Van Dijk, Alexander-Arnold, O'Connell, and Baldock, both from Sheffield United.
Yeah.
Richarlison, Traore, Harvey Barnes, and then up front, Vardy, Aubameyang, and Jimenez. So slightly different to both of your teams. Obviously, I don't have the Man United cover, and Man City, I think on one of the previous podcasts, I explained my reason for not going KDB at the time. Seems a bit problematic now. I didn't realise I were going to have a single game day.
What are your thoughts, mate, on Wednesday? So not having a Man City player on Wednesday, are you happy to keep your captaincy on Aubameyang, or?
No, I'm going to put the captaincy on Henderson, I think.
On Henderson? All right.
Equivalent. I appreciate the Sheffield United defenders will probably be reasonably well owned based on their price point, but if I captain Henderson, I've effectively got 4 Sheffield United defenders playing then, which they could conceivably keep a clean sheet against Villa. So it's almost a potential in itself, and I think that's the way that I'm going to play it.
And you've got Adama Traore as well. So, obviously he's had issues with his shoulder and stuff. He's also been linked with a move away. What are your thoughts on whether he'll start regularly for the first few games back?
Yeah, well, the thing you just mentioned now about Jimenez, I might need Traore at some point. Also, I was thinking, I don't have Danny Ings obviously, and there's a game day coming up where it's Watford Southampton. I think it's the second game week.
Okay.
The fixtures should have been announced by then, so if I knew that I needed another Watford captain on the second lot of fixtures, I was considering moving Traore over to Sarr.
Yeah.
That's all dependent. If it was just for that one game and Watford didn't have another captaincy requirement later on, I probably wouldn't do it. But if there was, then I'd definitely be having a look at that.
Okay then. So whilst Dan and I are not planning any transfers for the first week or two, Paul is. What we thought we would try and do is show this on the Fantasy Football Hub planner. So just for those who've not seen it before, this is it here, and so it's on screen for our YouTube viewers. Obviously, not the best for our podcast listeners, but we will try our best to kind of commentate as we're going through. So Paul, in terms of your team here then for game week 45, obviously you've got that first day on Wednesday the 17th. The planner shows your whole team, so you plug in your team. The planner then shows how many players are playing, how many midfield or striker options you've actually got on that team, how many transfers made. Obviously this one's irrelevant here because you've made the changes after lockdown. The cost or saving in terms of the transfers you've made, how much cash you've got in the bank, how many transfers you've got remaining, and the cost of your team, and it checks the formation as well. So that's basically just a long and short of what it does for you. So could you kind of talk us through your plans, Paul, day by day here in terms of your captaincy and transfers? So on the Wednesday, you're captaining Henderson, you said.
Yeah, that's right, Henderson. So as I said, I'll have Aubameyang playing against City, but I'll have effectively 4 Sheffield United defenders playing against us. So Q early Grealish goal, I suspect. So then moving on to the Friday, I also don't have a captain then based off, I don't have Danny Ings, and I don't have any Man United. I potentially would have missed it had Man United not got the single game day against Brighton coming up.
Yeah.
I really wanted to avoid high-owned players. I'm sitting like 1,200 just now, 7 transfers left, so not brilliant position. I do have a couple of differentials in my 11. Aubameyang's only 20% owned in the top 1,000, so I'm thinking of getting Bruno in only because you won't be able to see the Man United lineup. I suspect he's probably one of the most nailed on to play.
Yeah.
I had thought about getting a defender in, but so I'm thinking of moving Richarlison, and the reason I'm not going to captain Richarlison in any of the games coming up,
right,
and everybody else I could see within my team, all my attacking players, I could see captaincy options, and it also keeps me the cash in the bank for a later move, which I imagine I'll need at some point. So I'm going to move Richarlison on to Fernandes, provided nothing comes out in the news that he's going to be rested or any other players are injured.
Cool. So you can see that in the planner there on screen. So he's moving Richarlison on for Fernandes, which obviously updates everything here. Okay then, so we move then on to Saturday the 20th. Could you give us a rundown here, Paul?
Yeah, like I mentioned there, Aubameyang's only 10% owned in the top 1,000, so I'll be captaining Aubameyang away to Brighton. Brighton had kind of went off the boil a little bit before the break. Obviously, nobody knows form's out the window now, but he has scored in the friendly games that's been set up. So yeah, the captain of Aubameyang against Brighton.
Apologies all, you sounded the best, Paul, but we can make it out, so we'll carry on. If it gets a bit illegible, I'll try and commentate over the top, but I think it's legible. Just okay. So we'll carry on. Okay, move on to the Sunday then, the 21st.
I'm going to captain Van Dijk away to Everton.
Okay, yeah, I think he's probably more guaranteed to start than Alexander-Arnold, and we can see in the planner there that it's amber showing as a 0 because Paul hasn't got any midfielders or striker options available then. So we can see then on Monday the 22nd, you are planning another transfer.
Yeah, so this one's, I'd say, a lot of controversial. We'll see how Man City set up against Arsenal. A player that I'm really interested in looking at is Laporte. I think he'll go under the radar. I don't think players or Sky managers want to make defensive transfers.
Yeah.
And Laporte, if he starts, it's almost like he's starting on 5 points instead of 2.
Yeah,
he usually racks up passing bonus by half time in games. Obviously got attacking output as well. So if he's looked fit against Arsenal, and it looks like we'll obviously see the lineup then. And I mentioned last week that I'm really keen to start spreading the team out, so I've not got double ups on teams.
Yeah.
So I'm going to move Trent Alexander-Arnold out. Bit of a punt, but I think I have to kind of make those moves at this stage of the season based on where I am. So provided Laporte starts and looked fit against Arsenal, then I'm going to make the move from Trent to Laporte and just forego any of the Man City attackers.
Yeah, we mentioned last week, I think, didn't we, about, Laporte is probably nailed on. He's great for passing. I do wonder next year, you've got the kinds of Laporte and Jorginho and players like this now, and it's getting more and more. It seems to be, that the bigger teams are getting better, and in terms of like percent possession, where you're seeing more kind of between 75 and 80% for these kind of teams, and it means, as you say, that Laporte at times gets the passing bonus by half time and stuff. I do wonder next year whether they will potentially slightly adjust it, to kind of adapt to how the league is going, because it seems a bit silly that you can get the passing bonus by half time. It just seems a bit mad on it, and it's happened a lot with centre backs in particular, haven't it? It is a good incentive for centre backs, but that should be a bonus for a bonus for me should be something that you earn for almost something out of the ordinary that you've done really, really well. So an excessive amount of something, an excessive amount of tackles, excessive amount of passes, but it just seems it's kind of the norm now. Anyway, get off my.
I like it, mate, as it is.
I'm sure you really do, because you know the players who to jump on. Yeah. Okay, so moving on then to Tuesday the 23rd. Then we've got 2 fixtures on this game.
Yeah, so I've got Vardy and Harvey Barnes, so yeah. I'll likely captain Vardy on that at home to Brighton.
Yeah, that's an easy one there. Wednesday the 24th.
I will likely be captaining Bruno then, or Wolves are at home to Bournemouth, and depending on how Bournemouth start again, I could be tempted to captain Jimenez there as well.
I noticed there's 4 matches at 6 o'clock there. That's going to be that's like a first ever, isn't it? It's finishing work and kind of four matches on at 6 o'clock, 4 Premier League games. That's got to be a first. That's going to be an incredible night. And finally then, in Gameweek 46, Thursday the 25th of June.
Yeah, so captain Aubameyang then as well. So I'm getting 2 captaincies out of Aubameyang, even though I'm not captaining him against Man City.
Okay. And then, in terms of the next ones then, we are moving into game week 47. Have you laid out plans for these games yet, Paul? Or?
Yeah, so Villa play Wolves in the first game, so it'll be Jimenez or Traore. And then it's that Watford-Southampton game. So we'll have had the fixtures by this point. Like I mentioned earlier, I've got no other players to put out in my team, and Watford had another captaincy opportunity in the following sets of games, then I'd be tempted to either move Traore because you're essentially getting a 2-for-1 because he'll have played against Villa then as well.
Yeah.
So moving Sarr in there, but I'm not sure. Yeah, as I say, I'm not too sure on that. Completely leaving the Palace Burnley game the following night.
Okay.
Then Brighton play Man United in that single game day that I need the Man United cover for. So again, picking Bruno based on his assurance of starts.
Yeah.
There, I think I read somewhere that he beat the beep test, that he beat what his record beep test was at the start of lockdown when he came back. So he's obviously been looking after himself as well in the break. And he scored a penalty against West Brom. He missed one, didn't he?
Yeah, he missed one. And he scored it with both Pogba and Rashford on the pitch, apparently. So the fact he took both, he did miss one, but that's probably a sign, you guess, that he's on penalty for the new season. It's scary to go without him, from my view, but I just don't see any point because his ownership's going to be massive.
Yeah, I genuinely would have would have rearranged it and thought of getting Rashford or Pogba or even Maguire or Wan-Bissaka, and potentially, I'm just thinking that with the 5 subs, that even if Rashford, we're not going to see the first lineup against Spurs, even if Rashford and Pogba play, you suspect that coming back from injury that those two are going to be subbed, and Bruno's probably likely going to play 90 as well. So, yeah.
Agree.
Then the following night, it'll be Aubameyang at home to Norwich.
Yep, that's a nice fixture for him.
And then we've got Sheffield United against Spurs and City against Liverpool. If I'm feeling brave, I could captain Henderson again and get my 4 Sheffield United defenders out. It's Mourinho's Spurs, so
yeah,
that too much. So again, it would sit as a differential. A lot of people will be captaining Aguero, probably De Bruyne, because you won't see City's lineup and that assurance of starts point. So yeah, I'd probably be tempted to captain Henderson.
Okay, and then finally, Friday the 3rd.
That's not come up on the Sky plan.
Oh no, it hasn't. Sorry, it's just got all the fixtures. It's got the fixtures, but it hasn't got the actual things. I apologize.
Yeah, there will be a game on that Friday as well, based on the win.
Yeah, no, of course. Okay. Okay, so thanks for that, mate. A very detailed look there into your team, into your plans. A really good insight as well. If anyone's got any comments in the chat of any of Paul's plans, it seems very well planned out there, mate, in all fairness, and I like your Laporte pick. I think that's I think that's a really nice pick. I think getting players that are going to play the majority of the games, which Laporte will, right? So he's so key to that team. I'm sure I saw a stat this week that what was the stat? I don't want to get the stat wrong, but it showed they concede some like 30% less big chances with him in the team, or something like that, and their win rate is massively different when he's in the team as well. So Man City do have the best defensive stats in the league normally. They even have for most of this year, because they just tend to concede off the odd shot that each opponent kind of manages to have. But when Laporte's in the team, I think they're a different team. And I think I mentioned last week, it's not just the fact that he scores points. I think he also enables other players in Man City to score more points as well, because he's very forward thinking. He defends well, and he gets the odd assist and goal as well. So I like that, mate. Good stuff. Okay then, so we will move on to the questions then, of which again we've got quite a few. Firstly, Dan, you've had a quiet one this one. Are you going to be making a 4th team at all, Dan?
Yeah, of course. I think I've only done a 4th team because just to have that many transfers to be able to do everything you want to do, I'm going to have to sort of sit on my hands for this first couple of weeks. So it'd be nice to have a team where I can be bringing in everyone who I want to have, like, without worrying about it. So I could cover myself basically. Do you know what I mean? I'm just going to bring everyone who I want to have, and if they score, my main team will be gutted, but this little 4th team will be doing well. And as always, there's a cash league, so Tim Barry's he's set up a little league for it. So it's something a bit of interest as well. So yeah, I'll be doing a 4th team for sure.
The question is from Cal: is what is your approach? As you have 40 transfers, as you have 40 transfers, you can be aggressive with 5 a week. Cal is started with no Liverpool, but will put them in for their first game. Have you got a kind of plan in mind at all, Dan? Have you looked at the fixtures or anything yet?
I will just bring on all the players who I can't bring in my team, Vardy and Kane, and I'll just do that. And yeah, you be aggressive because you got 40 transfers, so let's get into doing 5 a week, and just go for the big and sort of thing. And like I say, that Man City game against Burnley on the Monday night, because obviously you'll get to see the lineup, so that's handy. So I'll be looking at that to bring in whoever starts up front, whether it's Aguero or Jesus. So that's always handy.
Are you doing one, Paul?
Probably not. I play, like yourself, I play Sun Dream Team, FPL, and a couple other separate kind of fantasy games on the side as well. So I've got quite a lot to administer as it is.
Yeah, I'm the same, mate. I'm the same with you. I haven't got enough hours in the day at the moment, so I won't be making one. But we will keep an eye on Tim's league, especially if there's lots of people in this group and on the podcast who play and stuff. So comment from Bear, really solid plans as long as there are no injuries, etc. It's navigatable. Not quite sure what to expect from all these games coming thick and fast, though. Bound to be things thrown up out of the blue. Yeah, I think and this is not the best thing to say on a fantasy football podcast, but with my position, I'm just determined to try and enjoy it. I think if you try and plan, it's nice to have a plan, and obviously we've shown there that Paul has got a very good plan, but I think we're all aware there will be injuries, there will be rotation, there will be times when the captain that Paul wants to put in won't be starting and things. So just about being adaptable. But it's great to have that plan in the first place, because then you've got something to actually work from. What I find is when I haven't got a plan, and then you get the curveballs, that's when you end up making rash moves, which kind of cost you in the long term and stuff. So, but yeah, thanks for that, Bear. And Pompey Lad 96 pap, just in an option for Dan at 6 million. Yeah, I think we mentioned that last week. I think he's a natural replacement there if you want a Leicester defender there, obviously. And Peter Brown, remember, it's not unlimited transfers like it usually is when you can pick an extra team. I made a transfer already by mistake, so this is the new fourth team. So it's not unlimited transfers on the fourth team for anyone who is playing that. And Peter has unfortunately managed to waste a transfer already. So make sure that you've got your team picked properly, ready for the restarts before you confirm it.
That's where I'd use the Ian's planner. You can whack your team in there and see the value and everything, without having to go anywhere near that fourth team option. So just go on his planner, pick the team you want, it works it all out for you, the cost, and then literally just enter it on that. I'm going to enter mine on Wednesday. So
you should be okay though if, on the one, because there's only six weeks left. And you can only use 5 a week anyway, so you'll only be able to use 30 transfers, I think, or 35 transfers.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, that's another point. And question off Lee Williams, in terms of the 40 transfers then, do high price defenders seem the way to go, being less prone to high rotation with the added subs? I think, Dan, you're just kind of looking at it as a bit of a have some fun, but I would say that maybe players, as Paul has mentioned already, Van Dijk, Laporte, maybe Maguire, and some of these players, if you're looking for a steady influx of points and maybe then rotate the attacking players then to get your captains, that's probably a decent way to go. If you can pick out a couple of enablers maybe in midfield to help that along the way, to help you to afford the expensive defence. Any thoughts on that, Dan? Are you going to be targeting those? Or
we'd always sort of said, like, if you're Liverpool player and you think, should I go for Van Dijk or Salah? Well, Van Dijk's, if you captain him, he's a 10-point captain without a clean sheet because he's getting the tier 2 passing, whereas Salah, so many times I've captained Salah and he's come off with just the 2 points, and you're like, Van Dijk, he's 10 points without a clean sheet, 20 points with a clean sheet, so the majority of the time you are better off captaining Laporte, Van Dijk over Salah, Aguero. But it's just I'm always sucked in by, like, Aguero's going to get a hat trick, which happens 3 times a season, if that. But yeah, I don't know. It's probably safer going for the captain, the defender as a captain. But always seems to me just a bit boring, like, and playing it safe. But
it's not boring winning 50 grand, mate. That's
No.
for sure. Question again then. So I'll leave the most of these at Dan, because I bet Paul's exhausted after that run through there of his team. So question off Patrick Lee. What are your thoughts on going with no Liverpool strikers in favour of strikers like Aubameyang, Vardy and Rashford? So Salah's in nearly 50% of top 1k teams and Mane in 33%. Does it seem risky to go without them? Dan, what are your thoughts on that?
Well, yeah, it's always risky going about Salah or Mane, especially as they're in so many teams, because if they do score well, then you're in big trouble. But like Liverpool only got to win like 2 games, and they've got the league, haven't they? And like Klopp said that he's going to treat this as a sort of a bit of pre-season, and I just don't know. It's risky, but Leicester are still sort of. Well, I don't think they're going to get second, are they? But Leicester need to keep winning to stay in the Champions League places. So yeah, you're probably better off going for Vardy, and I don't know. Even Spurs need. Well, Spurs have got no chance. Are they a top 4 or 5? Have they? But I just don't know. Yeah, like I say, I'm probably not going to have Salah. I don't think I'll have Salah unless there's a really need to have a Liverpool. Well, I've got Van Dijk. No, basically what I'm saying is, yeah, I'm going to risk going about Salah. It could, he could get a brace and get Brighton or Burnley or Newcastle, and you'd be ruining that decision. But I don't know. I need to do something a bit different because he's in so many teams. So that's the route I'm taking.
This is it. If you're like 50 points ahead in your mini league, for example, you may be better off playing him and captaining them in those games. Whereas if you're 100 points behind, there's no point in doing it. I don't think. I think decisions like this, you should make decisions thinking about what your objectives are and where you want to be at the end of the season. If you're defending, it may be wise to have one. If you're attacking, go without, because what have you got to lose? Anything to add there, Paul?
No, I actually didn't realise. I didn't think Salah would be that highly owned. I know before the break, a lot of people were moving players onto City players, knowing that the game that they had originally against Arsenal was supposed to be scheduled then.
Yeah.
It surprised me. But yeah, I kind of echo what you've said on that already.
Cool. Question from Aaron Alton, who's also just put a comment in the chat. So a comment in the chat first. So saw on Twitter that the chap in 6th has 8 transfers left. That will drop the average for the rest of us in the top 10. And his question is, any idea when the remaining fixture dates will be released? Sadly, unless you have Dan, and I know you get a bit of inside info at times. I certainly don't know. I think we mentioned last week that potentially on Wednesday the 17th, Dan. I think that was
I
your
reckon
thought,
so.
wasn't it? But
I think it'll be then. So then we're on a panic. We've got all our plans made, and then like lunchtime on Wednesday, they then bring out the next 2 weeks worth, and then you're like scrabbling about that afternoon, thinking, I need to bring in, I don't know, a Brighton player because they've got 2 single game days or something. So I can see like I'm now pretty happy with my plan, and then something like that will happen. And but I know it'll be, well, I don't know, but I'm guessing it'll probably be Wednesday, if not Thursday, Friday, and then it's like you're sort of readjusting the plans you made. But honestly, don't know. Like I say, we're going up to the 2nd of July here, and I know they haven't really got a it's not like fans are traveling to games and they have to give everyone notice to book hotels and their travel and stuff like that. But I imagine it'll probably be like every 2 weeks or something now. So it's just going to be pretty flexible and hope for the best.
If Villa had a single game, if they got announced and Villa had a single game day in the second lot of fixtures, would you consider moving Pereira on to Grealish?
Yeah, I probably would. Yeah.
What a shout that is.
Yeah, that's something that I'd then do. Well, say you could be thinking, oh yeah, I'll move him on to Justin or whatever, Leicester, and then something like that will pop up and you think, yeah. So that's why I don't really have anyone penciled in for Pereira yet, because something could pop up. I did look at Palace Burnley, something like that for that single game day, but I'm not. That's doesn't strike me enough really. So yeah, hopefully if I get something on Wednesday, I can then move him on to someone else. Yeah, ideally, like I don't know if I want any Villa players, but yeah, that's the sort of thing I'm looking out for.
Yeah, that Burnley and Palace game is not very inspiring, is it? Question from Tim Barry. So we've answered this. So are you going to captain Aguero, De Bruyne and Sterling against Arsenal? So I'm captain Aguero. Dan, I think you're captain Aguero as well.
Yeah, I could play it safe with Dean Henderson.
Yeah,
you can see the lineup and a safer in it, or we could captain Aguero and Jesus will start and Aguero won't come on, and we'll be waiting for the season to finish. So
I think
safe choice, right?
Yes, it is.
Yeah. Probably the safe choice. If you were doing really well at
that's right.
the top of leagues.
Yeah, I agree with that, mate. And Paul is actually on Aubameyang for that one. So I think.
Dean Henderson.
Oh, sorry. I do. Oh, yeah. I do apologise. I think it showed as Aubameyang in your.
Yeah, it was set like that prior to.
Yeah, of course. Yeah. So I think it's down to risk appetite there, Tim. If you want to. So we're all going. So Dan and I are going for Aguero. Paul is going for Henderson. Probably, maybe only because you haven't got a City player though, Paul. But I think it's down to risk appetite there, Tim. It's your choice. I would say go for the City player. Fish at Fish FPL asks, what's the best strategy for the single game days? Looking at my team, it's very Liverpool heavy, 5 players. Fish FPL has still got. What's the best strategy with them going forward? And he has 11 transfers remaining. Paul, can I give this to you one?
Yeah, so I think similar to what I mentioned about Sarr, is that I wouldn't necessarily be wanting to move them on for single game days unless there was a long-term plan of that.
Yeah.
So you're not going to be making any moves. It's going to be unlikely that you'll be making any moves from Liverpool players until the next fixtures are announced anyway. I suspect you'll get at least 2 weeks' notice before that. So as Dan mentioned, it'll probably be between Wednesday and Friday this week that we'll get the fixtures. So if you're getting the opportunity for 2 captaincy days by moving one of the Liverpool players out, and the bonus if Liverpool had already played that set of fixtures and moving on to someone else, so you're picking up a 2-for-1 plus the potentially two captaincies, then those are the kind of opportunities that I would probably be looking at. Otherwise, I would be looking to spread the players out, but it probably wouldn't be to the single game day players, and it would just be to the players that you wanted.
Great stuff there, mate. Question from at FPL Bear, who is also in the chat. Is it more important now than ever to pick players from teams with something to play for? Like as soon as a team gets safe or relegated or Liverpool win the title, then the squad rotation thing could be so high. And then just the second part of that question, it's why I'm keeping an open mind over what I'll use my transfers on in July. So many games and fixture dates to be announced. I want to use as low as many transfers as possible in June, but it's tempted to use them because of being away from it for so long. So, Dan, I suppose this one's for you. Should we be aiming for teams that have got something to play for when relegation and the title are wrapped up?
Yeah, I think so. Like Liverpool, I'm not inspired. I've only got a couple of Liverpool players, I think, Van Dijk and Trent. But I'm not looking thinking, oh yeah, I need to bring in some more because the title's done, isn't it? Like win a couple of games, and are they bothered? They're not in the cup or anything, are they? What's the point? So I don't think so. Whereas Villa, Watford, Bournemouth, they're all sort of fighting for their lives. I'm not sort of saying what you were saying last week about I'm going to bring Samatta in or whoever or something like that. Do you know what I mean? But I could see the logic. Callum Wilson or someone, I don't know, someone who they need some goals, don't they? Like people were saying about Pukki, but I wouldn't for Norwich. But yeah, the teams have got something to play for, but I don't know really. But then we just say Spurs have Spurs got anything to play for? Like that they wanted the season voided, didn't they, or ended? Like they can't be bothered, can they? Got nothing to play for, and is it worth bringing Kane in? I just really don't. It's so hard.
I think if Spurs beat United on that first Friday, I think then they're in with a shout. I think they'll have they're then within reach of the points, and they'll have a bit of impetus. I think if United beat Spurs, I think it's a very, very tough ask for Spurs then. So the first game on the Friday is a really important game actually.
That is a hard one. It's just whatever you sort of think. Like I personally think Leicester and Wolves, teams like that, what keep carrying on their wins and stuff, don't they? And I think I'll stay with them.
Wolves will have Europe as well, won't they? After league is finished as well, there's something to think about there in terms of maybe resting players, but maybe also wanting to keep a bit of a momentum as well. I think,
I think Man City as well. Sorry, they're still in the FA Cup. They'll want to win the FA Cup.
Exactly.
They're going to finish top 4, aren't they? So, they might not be in the Champions League next season anyway. So they might put all their eggs into sort of the FA Cup. And, I don't know. Forget when they play in the FA Cup now. I ain't got it on these notes. But the game before they play in the FA Cup, De Bruyne, Aguero might not be starting, because they're saving them for that. So all them things. There's so much stuff to take into consideration. Even like we had last night, like when Norwich player, they won't name who it is, but is self-isolate for a week. What if that's, Pookie or Cantwell or, someone like that who's a sort of popular pick? Like we're just going to, we could have that at the weekend for someone else, and it's just going to be a nightmare.
I think this is why, the general advice in it is don't waste transfers early on. I think that's our overarching advice. I think all three has kind of agreed there. Play out more or less this first fortnight. Let's see what's going on in terms of the kind of, the teams we're rotating, the teams we're not rotating. We may get injuries, etc., and then kind of play it from there. James Pato has asked the same sort of question. With there being a game near enough every day, is it worth spreading as many teams as possible across your squad? Yeah, I think we're saying, we need to diversify across your team. So we've answered that one. Luke Wilson at FPL Equation, who's had a very good season in Sky. I think he's in the top 100. Who are the best Pereira replacements and why? Anyone beyond the cheap Leicester duo or Grealish? P.S. I know you sort of covered this in the last one, so I think the ones we have discussed in this one have been Justin and Grealish. Paul, off the top of your head, have you got kind of any other replacements there for Luke in terms of Pereira replacements?
I mentioned Reece James last week.
Yeah, you did, yeah.
I'm guessing based on Grealish getting mentioned that it's a possible move to an extra midfielder. So if you didn't have Danny Ings, then Sarr, say for Watford, if they had another captaincy requirement and the following fixtures might be a nice move. You could say the same about the Palace or Burnley players as well by moving onto one of those if we knew that the fixtures, if there was another requirement for another captaincy from one of those teams as well, I guess.
Good shout. Dan, anyone else for Luke other than Pereira, Grealish, Sarr?
Yeah, like Paul said, Sarr, like if you've not got anyone for that Watford-Southampton game, then Sarr, he's cheap and, worst case, it's a 4-point captain when someone, might not have anyone. So it's 4 points you gained. But yeah, it just depends on your team. And yeah, if you can get if you can fill a captain day, then do it. But I say it's just what you need.
And the second question from Luke, Kane versus Aubameyang versus Aguero for the rest of the season. So who would you pick out of the three of those? Dan, come to you first. Kane, Aubameyang or Aguero? This is assuming that we all have De Bruyne already.
Again, it's not that a simple choice, is it? Because like if you look at Aubameyang, he could be a captain v Southampton versus Norwich. You might not want Aguero. It depends on what you see for what days. I'm going to say Aguero out of those three. Like if you want me to pick out the three,
yeah.
But when you look at Aubameyang could be a captain against Southampton and Norwich when there's not a lot of other options those days, then that's that could weigh in his favour.
Yeah, Paul.
Yeah, Aubameyang. I think. Yeah, Paul Aubameyang. He reminds me of Christian Eriksen from a fantasy football perspective, in that you can't really get frustrated with them because you know that they're just like watch Aubameyang and he's never like there's a lot of games specifically when Arsenal's playing away that he doesn't get involved and he's not got much touches in the box, and then I remember everyone transferred him out around January and then he went on a streak again. And Eriksen was pretty similar to that as well. Like he would always do well. I remember he always done well against Man City, I think. And yet, like he's more like if you were transferring him in and out constantly, it was costing you transfers. It's just one of those set and forget type players. And I think Aubameyang's like that as well. If you captain him 3 times in a row and he could return 2 points every time, but I think based on what Dan said, and like I mentioned earlier on, Aubameyang is going to be my captain 2 or 3 times over the next couple of weeks, and he plays on a lot of days. Arsenal's got fixtures, and perhaps he's a standout option there. So I'll probably go Aubameyang.
I would go Aubameyang as well. So Kane just isn't looking good. Spurs aren't looking good. I think it'll take a bit of time for Kane to get back to play the Premier League. Not that he was on it really before he was injured as well. So that's why I kind of rule out Kane. I do really like Aguero. I think he's a very aggressive option. But if you've got De Bruyne already, maybe you don't need Aguero. And obviously, you can obviously see Aguero and Jesus rotating practically every game as well. They've also got the FA Cup. They've also got the Champions League. So Aubameyang, he's the star of that Arsenal team. He's on pens. He's their go-to man, and there's those two captaincies as well, as we've mentioned. So I would say Aubameyang as well. Last couple of questions then. At FPL Foxy Dan, what is the latest on the cat?
I haven't. I've been avoiding going out, mate. I've been got a fruit and veg man to bring all my stuff, so I ain't had to bin down Tesco's, so I ain't seen him. But I'll take a trip down there next week to keep him happy.
Can we please make sure you do that, Dan, ready for the next podcast, if that's okay? That would be great. Comment off Ewan in the chat. Definitely agree on using players from teams with things to play for, and especially their key players will be focusing mostly on the race for top 4 or 5, I think. Yeah, I think that's a good shout there, Ewan. And Pompey Lad, 96 Pep. What did Dan spend his fantasy winnings on when he won Sky Fantasy? I think you mentioned this before, did you, Dan? Was it strippers, drugs and booze, or was that... what you tell the public?
Paid a bit of mortgage off as well. No, done the kitchen.
Oh, the kitchen. Here we go.
Yeah.
And last couple of football ones. 4 must-have players. I'm just getting aware of the time here, so we'll try and rattle through this. So 4 must-have players from each position. So 1 keeper, 1 defender, 1 midfielder, and 1 striker for the remainder of the season. Who are your must-haves, Paul? 1 in each position. So I put you on the spot.
Yes, Don. If I was so answering this question, I've got to go for assurance of starts, I think. So I think I would go Maguire in defence.
Yeah, I think it's a good shout.
Bruno, based on the captaincy requirements in the midfield, he's the Man United option. Up front, we've talked about Aubameyang, and then in goals, Dean Henderson misses the game against Man United, but then he plays the same amount of games as everyone else. Liverpool could rotate goalkeepers as well, so Dean Henderson for budget. Okay,
cool. And Dan, what about you? Who are your key men in each position?
That's so hard to say, like, without the rest of the fixtures. But yeah, I'd say Henderson in goal because he's cheap and he's done so well all season. Van Dijk, probably your safest Liverpool pick. Midfield, De Bruyne, and striker, I'll probably say Aubameyang, because just them 2 captaincies alone, the Southampton and Norwich, probably be the best captain for the day. So I think those.
I haven't really got massively strong feelings about a keeper or a striker, but I do agree with Maguire. I think he's going to be a really good pick for the rest of the season. And I'm going to say Grealish. I think that if anyone's got the chance to get Grealish into their team, I think they should. I think, if Villa are going to stay up, he will either keep them up or he will do his damn best to keep them up. So I think for his price, they can't afford to rest him much, if at all. So I would say Grealish. So that's it for the questions then. We're just going to have a quick look at the top of the Hubs £250 league, which we forgot to do last week. So just a quick look at the top 10. In 10th place, we've got LC Bishop. In 9th place, we've got Edwin Robinson. In 8th place, we've got Stephen Wernberg. In 7th place, Martin Sinclair. In 6th place, Dan Sherwood. In 5th place, Arwin Vobe. In 4th place, David Rowe. In 3rd place, Oliver Brown. In 2nd place, Liam Stevens. And in 1st place, FPL Kangaroo, Kian McKenna, who is also a Fantasy Football Hub member in our WhatsApp group, I believe. So well done, guys. Well done, everyone there. They will be £250 on the way to the winner there at the end of the season. just for those who didn't see, Dan and I made a bet. So we will catch up next week on how that's going. He challenged me to a bet because I made the ridiculous claim last week. And looking back on it, I wouldn't say it's ridiculous, but I'm definitely the underdog here. But we had a text exchange where I said that I think Pookie and Samatta will outscore Aubameyang and Kane over the first 3 games. There we go. I should have had odds, but there we go. We will keep an eye on that next week.
We should drink in the afternoons.
Drink in the afternoons. We will see, mate. I don't think we can underestimate the power of this break, and that I think a lot of teams are going to start now the restart on much more of an even keel than they were, in the winter. But we'll see. And finally, Dan, I hope you got a rant lined up. Dan's rant.
Do you know, before that, actually, I just want to quickly go through the transfer stats that we got this week.
Please do.
So top 10, the average remaining transfer is 4.5, top 100 is 5.3, top 1,000 is 6.1, and the top 5,000 is 6.4. So if you've got more than that, then there's a great chance to climb. We know 3 of the guys in the current top 10. So I know Guy, he has said on Twitter, so that's out there. And other people would have seen it, but he's not got many left. Do you know what I mean? He said he's got 2. Aaron is keeping his cards close to his chest, and I don't blame him. There's money on stake here. And Neil, who's in the top 10, says he's got 8. Has he got 8? Is it mind games? Do you know what I mean? That's getting into that sort of bit of stage now. So, do you know what I mean? But 4.5 for that top 10, like that's, everyone's getting low on transfers now. When I looked at mine at 7, and then I see I'm above average for everything there, it gives you a little bit of hope. It gives me a bit of hope of finishing in the top 100 still. So I know there's plenty of people. Like James, Planet FPL podcast, like he's a jammy bastard, and he's still got about 16 transfers or something. Like, Jesus, like he must have seen this Corona coming. So, you've got plenty of transfers. It's an ideal time now where you can really climb the leaderboard. So, so that's that for transfers. Rant, I ain't really got too much for a rant. Do you know what annoyed me last week and I forgot to say? But I don't know if I should say because he works for us at the Hub, doesn't he? Ben Crellin with the fixtures. He's with the Hub, isn't he?
He is with the Hub, yeah.
Oh, Will be going nuts if he hears this. But he posted out a little, someone had sent him what the fixtures will be on the Thursday before they were confirmed. So I was getting impatient. So I started planning along to it because it's day by day. That was fine for FPL because everything fitted in nicely.
Yeah.
But for Sky, a few of them were in the wrong days. And I know I speak to Glenn Roy and he'd done the same. He'd gone off that. We made our plans. And then the fixtures came out and there was like 3 or 4 that were on the wrong days, which, and Sky totally thinks like that. So I was like ripping it in the thing. I was like, bloody Ben Crellin. I was fuming with him. Then I thought, I better chill out because he's on the payroll, isn't he? So
I think in all fairness as well, he was like 95% right.
With the FPL, he was right, but the Sky ones, there was a few that were just out, and it's so important for Sky, isn't it? Do you know what I mean? So
I did the same on TFF, mate. I populated all the TFF planner, and then obviously a few of them were changed, but I do think as well it did give us, it was like a day or 2 in advance, wasn't it, of the actual release as well. So it was.
So that's the problem with anything really. Like when you get team news off people on Twitter, someone's not playing, and it's like then a game kicks off and they are playing. You're like, oh well, someone said Aguero won't start, and then he is, or do you know what I mean? So it's always you take it, until you see it in black and white, official. You should always take it. Yeah, that annoyed me. I could go for a little confessional if you want.
Yeah, why not?
Have you heard? Hey, my son plays it, right? Have you heard of Animal Crossings?
Animal Crossings?
Yeah. No. Oh, son's on that. I'm addicted to it now. When he goes to bed, I'm on there playing. That's mad, mate. But you have to buy turnips and do all this weird stuff. I then go on Twitter. You had to go to another island, find someone online, go and sell it. So I'm there at 11 o'clock at night, messaging some 16-year-old Japanese girl or something. Can you give me your code? Come to your island. I'm thinking, gee, I'm going to get the police going through my hard drive or something here. What is going on? Mrs. What are you doing? It's like, I'm just talking to some guy about fancy football. Do you know what I mean? I'm messaging some 16-year-old girl about getting oh, mate. But I'm addicted to this Animal Crossing, so I need the football to come back, mate, so I can just get rid of it. But God, mate, it's not good.
Are you sure it's a game, not the sequel to Animal Farm?
No, no. It's all,
It's all about.
I'm all CRP checked and all that, mate. It's all fine. I'm not on the register.
Okay, so we'll wrap up there before we get into trouble. So finally, Fantasy Football Hub have been nominated for a Football Content Award in the Best in Fantasy Football Editorial category. If you wish to support us and vote, for YouTube viewers, the link is in the description below. And for podcast listeners, please go to footballcontentawards.com/2020-voting. It would be greatly appreciated. And that is it from us for this week. So we'll be back next Sunday at 9 p.m, which will be around 5 or 10 minutes after the Everton-Liverpool game is finished next Sunday. So we'll be doing a reaction stream next week when we've got captained VVD, and either he's conceded 3 and got exactly Sal's got a hat trick, or VVD he concedes 3 then gets a red card, or conversely he could have scored a header off a TAA corner for a 1-0 win, and we're all jumping up and down. Dan, where can we find you?
Twitter, Dan Cox 82, and articles on the Hub every Friday. So that'll be on there this Friday, and I should have my definite plans if we've had some fixture news as well, and who my Pereira replacement will be. But that will all be on there. Yeah, my captains for the week ahead, or for the 2 weeks ahead. So yeah, Fantasy Football Hub on Friday. If you haven't read Dan's article this week, I would highly recommend it. I really, really enjoyed it this week, Dan. Not that I don't every week, but I thought some weeks are better. I thought this week was really, really insightful. Some really, really good advice in it as well. Paul, where can we find you?
On Twitter at Paul McAnulty 1.
Okay, thank you, Paul. Just a quick comment. Pompey Lad 96 Pep, class podcast lads, have voted for you in the awards. Thank you very much. If everyone else would jump in there and do that as well, that would be fantastic. My Twitter handle is at Fergie222. This podcast and video will be on the Fantasy Football Hub, Sky and TFF YouTube channel, and available in all major podcast libraries. If you like what you watched, please click the like button, and remember to subscribe in the bottom right hand corner of the screen if you haven't already. And if you enjoyed your listen, please rate the podcast version, leave some comments. It helps us increase our rankings, our listens and watches, which can allow us to improve the production of the work. It also makes sure you don't miss anything. And for the remainder of the season, we're running a competition with a random draw at the end of the season to win a free annual Premium Hub membership. Well worth winning. Our handles on Twitter, Instagram and TikTok are at FFH_HQ, and our podcast Twitter handle is at FFH_Sky, so please feel free to follow and ask any questions. Our website is fantasyfootballhub.co.uk, where you will find everything you need for fantasy football all under one roof, including player comparison tools, a fixture ticker, Opta stats, top player team reveals, and much, much more, which can be used for both Sky and FPL. Also on the website, as mentioned, specifically for Sky, Dan reveals his transfers, captains, and general thoughts at 1 p.m. every Friday, exclusively to Fantasy Football Hub members, an essential read if you're a serious Sky player. Fantastic read this week, a must read. Highly recommend it. I also write my weekly multi-format diary article, which includes my Sky team transfers, captains and progress. Dan is very active in our Sky WhatsApp chat group, along with other great Sky players, including Mark Edworthy, Paul Jones, Luke Wilson and many others. And this is available to Premium Hub members. Some of the guys in the group, and indeed some of the guys in the chat here, are in there. I would highly recommend it as well. It costs a bit, but it's worth it. And we've got some guys in that group who are in the top 10, in the top 50, in the top 100. It's a great investment if you invest in mini league. So if you're not in it, have a think for next season. They are more than worth it. If you fancy a free 7-day Hub membership trial, go to fantasyfootballhub.co.uk/free trial and sign up. For YouTube viewers, the link is below in the description. Planet FPL, as Dan has mentioned, they do a brilliant Sky podcast every Wednesday where they run through their teams. It's their first season playing, but they're both doing very, very well. James has got 16 transfers left as well, which is very, very impressive. He's hoping for a really good finish there. We will be back live at 9 p.m. next Sunday evening, straight after Everton Liverpool, to give our reaction to the weekend's action and to talk about the latest fixture release. We are really hoping that by then the fixtures will be out and we can get down to some real proper planning and also give our reaction, as all our plans go down the toilet next weekend when everyone's rested, rotated, everyone gets injured, and we're looking at 6 million strikers and things, because that's all available. Next week we'll also talk about our teams and plans, the remainder of Game Week 46 and for Game Week 47. You won't want to miss it. So thank you and good night from us. Good night.